What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Cobb Ultras, the podcast show. I'm your host, Pohan, and I'm back today to give you guys my review of Liverpool versus Lask in the UEFA Europa League. So, Group E, we have finally gotten our 3 points with a victory against Lask in Austria. So, with the most unlikeliest of circumstances, whereby we had to come from 1 goal down in order to win 3-1, and it's a similar scoreline as to how we won against Wolves. So, some of you guys have also been wondering why I don't have that back frame of the Liverpool flag behind me. So I'm actually in my new home, so renovations are underway. So I had to use this spot currently to record my podcast. So coming back into my review of Liverpool versus Lask, there was there was a lot of rotations happening in the squad in this match against Lask. So we saw the likes of Konate come back into the starting lineup. We saw Virgil van Dijk coming back into the starting lineup after his suspension, even though the suspension would be in the domestic trophies. But then he was back into the starting lineup. And then there was also, we saw the likes of Stefan Bajcetic playing in the right back position. He was chosen first ahead of Joe Gomez, and that was also surprising to watch. And also there was a big rotation happening in the midfield as well. We saw the likes of Wataru Endo making his first start in the Europa League for Liverpool in the number 6 role. We also saw Harvey Elliott play in the midfield position as well. And we also get to see the debut of Ryan Gravenberch, I think about a full debut of Ryan Gravenberch in a Liverpool shirt in the UEFA Europa League as well. So plenty of positives we can take as well, and there are a few negative stuffs as well I would like to talk about. So the first thing I would like to talk about is the first talking point, which would be the whole performance of Liverpool in the Europa League this season. So yes, this is the first the first match day, the first group match of our group in Group E. So despite that, I think we are back in the fold where we can see heavy rotations being done by Jurgen Klopp, which is fair to say, even though we had the likes of Jota, we had the likes of Cody Gakpo and Szoboszlai and McAllister as well on the bench. I think Liverpool did try to put out a strong team, because our front three, we had the likes of Luis Diaz, Darwin Núñez, and also we had Ben Doak as well. Like I would like to mention, Ben Doak had his first start for Liverpool in the UEFA Europa League as well. So a lot of heavy rotation which had happened. We saw, I think the main aspect that we saw in this game, which is kind of like a negative, which is a lack of cohesion in the team in terms of squad rotation is concerned. Because when we are playing against Lask, a lot of the times that we played against Lask last night, I saw a lot of misplaced passes, a lot of unnecessary fouls. Teamwork wasn't really 100%. I saw there was only about 40 to 50% of, a certain amount of teamwork, because I felt that whenever the ball was in the legs of Kostas Tsimikas, for example, he was very, very reluctant to play 1-2 passing, trying to overlap with Luis Diaz. So, and then vice versa, you would also see Luis Diaz not really having that proper teamwork or the proper understanding with Kostas Tsimikas in order to play on the left wing, because you would always see him cutting inside. Yes, that is fair, given the fact that he can cut in and he can play wide as well. But then that cohesion in terms of trying to play with all the players, not just focusing centrally, trying to just pass the ball with Darwin Núñez or Ryan Gravenberch, for instance, and then maybe lobbing the ball all over to the other side, trying to get the ball to Ben Doak or Stefan Bajcetic as well. So that was the lack of cohesion I saw on both sides, not just for Luis Diaz and Tsimikas as well, but I felt that I saw that on the right hand side with Ben Doak and Bajcetic. Yes, I do understand for a fact that Bajcetic it's not his preferred role being in the right back position, but I think that Klopp has seen that he does have the qualities to play as a right back, and maybe just as a stand-in right back. And I felt that maybe with the whole situation that happened against Wolves with Joe Gomez and him being caught out numerous times in the first half. I felt that in the first half, in this game against Lask, Bajcetic was not constantly being played off the ball, but then he tried to trying his level best to minimize the pressure and the whole attack which is coming on the way from the left, which is Bajcetic, their right and our right wing position. So those are the kind of most notable things I could see from the wing position. But in terms of centrally, in terms of the midfield position, I felt that there was also the lack of cohesion there as well, because when you really look at it, Endo is getting his first start. To be really fair, Endo didn't really push himself into second gear. I felt that he was a bit more, he was restraining himself too much, and he got caught out of the ball as well couple of times as well by the last players, midfielders. I don't really remember some of these players' names in last, so I'll just say midfielders, strikers and stuff like that. So a very kind of like a timid performance from Endo. I wouldn't count out the fact that he also tried to push the ball forward, trying to make progressive plays towards the attacking end of Lask. But then that was like, I only saw like 2 situations like that happen, and then after that it was just purely defensive play, full on from Endo. And he was, I think, in the first 5 minutes, first 6-7 minutes, he barely even got the ball on his legs. So very quiet. I think it was more of like a play safe kind of attitude. I still understand for a fact that he's still new to the team, he's still understanding, but you would have had like a week or two playing against the team, trying to understand the system. But I felt that a little bit more aggression and a little bit more expression is what I expect from a player like Endo, who has to the caliber of Endo. He's the captain of Japan. He captained Stuttgart previously in the Bundesliga. So those kind of qualities is what I'm expecting Endo to bring out in these kind of games, despite the fact that we have rotated the squad and stuff like that. You would have expected him to stand out even more, be more of a a player which has the ball more often on his legs, trying to go out for tackles and stuff like that. So those are the kind of things that you rarely saw in Endo. You saw Endo execute stuff like that. You rarely saw it against the Lask in this match. So that was about Endo. And then I would go back to Harvey Elliott as well, like coming back to the whole cohesion, understanding, knowing where the players are, knowing where the pass is supposed to go. So there was like plenty of mistakes were happening, especially in the first half. And also towards the build-up to the goal. Yes, the goal was a really good goal by Lask. I think it was Lubicic or someone like that. I can't really remember. And let me just have a look. If I am not mistaken, the goal is actually from Flecker. Okay, it's not Lubicic, it's Flecker. So we scored 3 goals coming from Darwin Núñez taking the penalty, Luis Diaz scoring and giving us the lead, and then Mohamed Salah coming on as a substitute and finishing off the game, scoring the 3rd goal. So that goal by Lask was actually undefendable. You can't really defend that kind of ball, because they were slowly building up that kind of a play. That whole set piece, they were trying to build it up. When you saw in their first 3 corners that they had, I think this goal, the build up to this goal, the corner was like the 3rd or the 4th, and I had a gut feeling that ball, when they took the corner, when the player took the corner, I felt that the ball would go to one of the midfielders of Lask and they would just whip it in, try to, thunderbolt smash it towards the goal, and it happened. So Liverpool just were caught cold. They were just caught cold by that goal. And then after that, you saw a lot of sloppy play. I think towards the end of the first half, we started to build up more pressure. And it was almost towards the same thing that happened against Wolves as well. We were very sloppy in the first half an hour, 20-30 minutes. And then towards the end of the first half, after we have conceded, we tend to, crank up the pressure even more. um, making sure that Lask commit a foul, trying to make sure that the ball goes towards their penalty area, trying to attack them all the way towards the end of the first half. So I felt that was more like purely unnecessary. It could have been done in the first 30 minutes of the first half, but then I felt that the sloppiness, the non-cohesion aspect of the team, I think kind of resulted in as to the goal happening, the goal being scored by Lask. But towards the end of the first half, I felt that it was a very delayed progression in terms of the pressure. So we were very slow. Even Gravenberch had a chance in the first half as well. He played a fantastic 1-2 with Darwin Núñez and Harvey Elliott, and then the moment he got in, and then the ball he just lost control of the ball, and then the last defender, kicked it away. So those kind of things are what gives you kind of like a frustration. It gives you a lot of frustration as well. I think in terms of that, that's about it. Defensively, we were okay, despite the fact that we conceded the one goal. But then there were few nervy moments. We did have nervy moments. I will come back into the goal chances as well. I think Darwin Núñez also had a point blank chance as well. Towards the end of the first half, we had a corner, and then Van Dijk would have headed it in and tried to pass it to Darwin Núñez, and he had a clear 100% chance to score the goal, but the Lask goalkeeper would point blank save it and then clear it away. So a lot of hot and cold performance in the first half. I mean, to be really honest, it was a very, very hot and cold first half. And then towards the end, then I kind of realized that Liverpool were starting to amp up the pressure, but it was very, very late in the game in the first half. And then when it came into the second half, you would have seen a whole different side of Liverpool. Right before the players that Klopp would have subbed on was McAllister, Szoboszlai and Mo Salah. Right before they arrived, we had a penalty kick, and then Darwin Núñez took the penalty. It was a foul on Luis Diaz. It was a 100% foul on Luis Diaz. No arguments whatsoever over there. But I felt right before the penalty, I felt that Liverpool were, we were exerting no pressure. We were trying to push Lask towards their end, trying to give them less moments with the ball. They had a few moments here and there, but then it was not so much. I felt that Van Dijk and Konate did their job very well. With Bajcetic as well, playing in the right back position. He did, fairly well. I wouldn't say he was very outstanding because that's not his preferred position. You wouldn't expect him to, to play in that position. You would expect him to play in midfield. But I think even towards the end of the first half as well, the first half or in the second half, you guys would have seen Bajcetic starting to do what Trent used to do with us when he was playing. He would go into the midfield position, he would go into the inverted position, and then he would play with the box for midfield. And I felt that Klopp trying to execute that didn't really work out because Bajcetic is not the Trent has the abilities, the passing abilities of Trent, giving the long balls. But he did give a few. He did give a few long balls to Luis Diaz. We did have a few opportunities. But like I said, towards the final third, trying to score the goal and all that, we were very, very super sloppy. So in that sense, we were, hot and cold in the first half. But then in the second half, we did really, really well, and we came back, scored the equalizer. Yes, Darwin Núñez took the penalty. A lot of people would expect Darwin Núñez to take the penalty from this day point on forward because he really took it well. Some would have expected him to blast it over the top, like what he would do last season. But he was very composed on the ball. It was a very, very good penalty, good power, good shot on it. That was very good. And then we saw the likes of Gravenberch as well, grabbing his first assist in his Liverpool career, assisting Luis Diaz to get the second goal for Liverpool and coming back from behind. So those are slightly good positives that you could have taken, from the performance of Ryan Gravenberch as well. Ryan Gravenberch, I think in the overall, right before he got his cramp and stuff like that, I had to be subbed off. I think way towards that end, he did really, really well. never really had a lot of opportunities in the first half, but he did do some major recoveries as well for Liverpool as well. I'm actually trying to find for the stat. I actually had a look at it. Yeah, he had the pinpoint low cross, giving Diaz the ball, trying to score the goal, and he also had he had an opportunity to try to score as well. But I felt that his ball recovery is very good, his control, his touch is really good. It's just that it still needs to be sharpened a little bit more by Jurgen Klopp for Ryan Gravenberch, I'm saying. So for Ryan Gravenberch, what I'm expecting is it's a really good start for him. It was a really good start for him. The first half didn't go so well, but in the second half, you saw a lot of plays being influenced by Ryan Gravenberch as well. And then when you saw the likes of Szoboszlai and McAllister come on, and then you could see how the midfield would have functioned with these three midfielders, and the fluency was there. You know, it was a more fluid gameplay because like I say, like Szoboszlai, a player like Szoboszlai who would come in and just dominate the whole midfield. Just give him 10 minutes and he would just dominate. And then you give these kind of two players in, and then you have Ryan Gravenberch in there, and Gravenberch actually excelled really well. And I think before, even for the fact that Szoboszlai and McAllister got subbed on, even before that, he got the assist and all that. His ball recovery was good. His touch was really good. He had an ability whereby he can control the ball when three last players are trying to defend him and trying to pressure him. So those are the kind of qualities that you would really love to see. I really like the way he played. But I just feel that his attributes, his skills needs to be sharpened a little bit more by Jurgen Klopp. So hopefully that happens. Hopefully he gets a start against West Ham as well. Let's see what happens. But it's a really good performance from him. And then in regards to the whole performance in the second half, like I said previously, was really good. We did well. Harvey Elliott had a few chances. He could have gotten a chance as well from Mo Salah's goal as well. Had not Mo Salah scored, Mo Salah could have passed it to Harvey Elliott as well, but that didn't really happen. He was a little bit frustrated as well that he couldn't. So with that being said, it was a good comeback victory for us. I don't mind us winning, having comeback victories constantly. I mean, once in a few games you would have like comeback victories and stuff like that. But what I personally feel is that there should be a certain point in a match, in a football game, where you need to have a very solid defense and try to not leak goals in earlier on in the game, because sometimes leaking goals early in the game, conceding a goal early in the game would come as not an issue, like they would say, like they just scored a goal, but then we try to contain them, we try to stop them from scoring more. It is fine, it's totally fine for me, I have no issues. But then when push comes to shove, then one goal can potentially be 2 goals or 3 goals if you try to just contain it, just to in the first half not being able to get the whole chemistry going within the team. But even though you can't get the chemistry going within your team members, what the best possible thing is you can do is defensively be as tight as possible. Don't just allow goals just for the fun of it or for the sake of it. Because guys on social media, they will just go and say like Liverpool are just letting opponents score first just for fun so that they can come back and win. So, I mean, it will be very nice to hear that, yes, we came back from 1-0 down and we won 3-1, we won 2-1 and stuff like that. But you need to understand, defensively you need to be solid. For sometimes, in certain matches, you need to score the first goal. Or if you are unable to score the first goal, let the scoreline be 0-0. Then when you go into the second half, maybe you amp up you go into the second gear, you go into the third gear, and then you can push on and get your first goal. So what I'm expecting is the defensive solidity. The defensive solidity needs to be there. Yes, that goal by Lask, you can't really defend it. But then with proper positioning, I think you can defend it. You can defend it. You can read what the players are communicating. It's defendable, but it's just that the whole, when the corner comes in and when last players are going in, and then when the Liverpool defense are also trying to barge in and trying to stop them from getting a header or a touch into it, the whole Liverpool back line, the whole defense, all the players are inside the penalty area, and then the ball just easily goes to Flecker, and then he gets an opportunity to control it clean, have a proper control of the ball and just smashed it in. So if you really look at it in that sense, I think that that goal and that play can be defended. You can defend that kind of situation. It's just, it's just when and how would you want to do it, and whether you want to do it or not. Because sometimes it will, people look at it and go, you guys are just conceding one goal every game. When you concede one goal every game, that it's also cause for concern as well. At a certain point in time, you would expect yourself to, the defensive line, the defensive players would expect, especially the keeper also, would expect, we would want a clean sheet. We want to have a proper solid back line, a back four or a back three, for instance, want to have that solid understanding defensively. So that is where Liverpool are actually lacking at the moment. But then, that is the negative side, but I can take huge positives as well. Liverpool did not put their heads down despite the fact that Lask scored the early goal. They kept pushing at it, they kept chipping away, they never stopped trying. That's one positive, one huge positive that the Liverpool fans can take away from, is that we never stopped trying. It's the same thing that happened last season. We stopped trying. Is the moment when a team scores the early goal, or when we score and then they score the equalizer and then they lead with the opponent's lead. We never really put our heads up and go, hey, let's go, let's attack. It's just that it didn't really happen, and the whole mentality, it just dropped. I think there was too much of fatigue last season. So in this season, fatigue, I don't think it would be an issue, but then it's good to know that, Liverpool still have that never say die attitude. Being the comeback kings and stuff like that is really good to hear. But at some point in time, yes, you would want to say that, we do have a really solid defensive record against teams, not only just in Europe, but also in our domestic leagues and cup matches as well. So overall, it's a really, it was an interesting matchup, because for the fact that, rotations and stuff like that are coming on. Games should be coming on thick and fast from now onwards. So on Sunday, we'll be having West Ham. And then next week, on the midweek, we'll be having another, we will have a Carabao Cup match against Leicester City as well. So, and then after that, we would have Spurs at home, or away, I'm not so sure. So we will have, we'll be facing Spurs as well. So a very crucial week ahead for us. Hopefully we could progress in the Carabao Cup. I would love to see us try to win that trophy again. We have all the chance in the world to win that. Hopefully we can get 3 points against West Ham as well. Hopefully we can capitalize with the fact that, West Ham have not, found a proper replacement for Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice leaving West Ham to Arsenal for Arsenal is a big loss for West Ham. So hopefully we can capitalize on that. And also we can be able to shut Mikel Antonio's mouth as well, because of his so-called prediction whereby West Ham will be a step higher than Liverpool in the Premier League this season. So a bunch of bullshit coming out from his mouth. So you guys just don't worry. These are all just outside noise. These are all outside noise. Empty cans make the most noise. So with that being said, just don't bother about, people who are chatting shit about us. Just focus on the good, on the positive moments. Even though there are negatives there, it can be corrected. It can be corrected by Jurgen Klopp. So just put all the faith in him. Then we have 3 points here. Let's move on to our next match against West Ham and see what happens. So I've come towards the end of my show. Thank you so much, you guys, for listening. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch my episode here on YouTube. You can head on over to Spotify and hear my watch and hear my listen to my podcast as well. Smash the like button, like, share, subscribe my podcast to all the other Liverpool fans all over Malaysia and all over the world as well. If you like the content that I'm providing you guys, do head on over and subscribe to all my channels on my social network as well, on Instagram, on YouTube, TikTok, and also on Spotify as well. So I'll be uploading all my episodes there on Spotify also. So with that being said, signing off, your host Puan. Thank you so much for you guys for taking your time to listen. I will come back to you guys with my other episode in terms of the review for West Ham. Most probably tomorrow I will try to provide you guys. So with that being said, thank you so much and have a good day, guys. So we play against Lask. Let's walk on. So take care and see you guys soon.